37 weeks pregnant, Phoebe was done. So completely done. Her ankles were swollen. Her back ached constantly. She couldn't see her feet, and she had to pee every 20 minutes. She'd stopped wearing real clothes entirely, living in silk robes and stretchy dresses that accommodated her massive belly. "I look like I swallowed a watermelon," she complained to Juno one morning, examining her profile in the mirror. "You look beautiful," he said automatically, kissing her shoulder. "You have to say that. You're contractually obligated as my boyfriend." "I mean it." His hands settled on her belly. "You're growing our daughter. That's the most beautiful thing in the world. She's not your—" Phoebe stopped herself. "Sorry. Hormones." "Hey." Juno turned her to face him. "She is mine. Maybe not biologically, but in every way that matters. I'm going to be there for her first words, her first steps, her first day of school. I'm going to teach her to ride a bike and scare away terrible boyfriends and walk her down the aisle someday. Biology doesn't make me her father. Love does." Phoebe burst into tears. "Why are you so perfect? It's annoying." He laughed, pulling her close as best he could with her belly in the way. "I'm not perfect. I'm just desperately in love with you." Her water broke that afternoon. She was at the boutique, reviewing final touches on her summer collection, when she felt a sudden gush of warmth. She looked down at the puddle forming on her designer floors and thought, very calmly, "Oh shit. Amma," she called. "My water just broke." Amma appeared from the back room, took one look at Phoebe, and sprang into action. Okay, this is fine. We planned for this. Hospital bag is in your office. I'll call Juno and Miho." "Wait." Phoebe grabbed her arm. "I'm not having contractions yet. We don't need to panic. Your water broke. That's literally the definition of when to panic." But Phoebe was surprisingly calm. She'd read all the books, attended all the classes. She knew that labor could take hours after water breaking, especially for first-time mothers. Still, she called her doctor, who confirmed she should head to the hospital. Then she called Juno. "I'm on my way," he said immediately. "Don't move. Don't do anything. Just sit down and breathe. I'm fine." It could be hours before a contraction hit, stealing her breath. Not painful yet, just a tightening across her belly. "Okay, maybe come soon." Next, she called Miho. He answered on the first ring. "It's time," she said simply. "I'll meet you at Samsung Medical Center." "Phoebe, good luck. You're going to be amazing." Juno arrived at the boutique in record time, looking terrified. "Are you okay? Is the baby okay? Should you be standing?" Juno breathed. "I'm fine." Another contraction came, stronger this time. Phoebe gripped the counter. "Okay, maybe we should go now." The drive to the hospital was surreal. Soul traffic moved around them, people going about their normal days, while Phoebe's entire world was shifting. In a few hours, she'd be a mother. The thought was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. At the hospital, they were ushered into a private delivery suite, one of the perks of using Seoul's most expensive maternity ward. The room was more like a luxury hotel than a hospital, with warm lighting and comfortable furniture. A nurse helped Phoebe into a hospital gown and hooked her up to monitors. The baby's heartbeat filled the room, steady and strong. "Contractions are still mild," the nurse reported. "Could be a while yet. First babies like to take their time." Miho arrived 30 minutes later, bringing flowers and looking nervous as hell. He hovered in the doorway until Phoebe waved him in. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like I'm about to push a human out of my body. How do you think I'm feeling?" "Right? Stupid question." He set the flowers on the table and stood awkwardly, clearly unsure where to position himself. In the room, Juno, by contrast, was right beside Phoebe, holding her hand, helping her breathe through contractions. The difference between them was stark. Juno confident in his role, Miho uncertain about his place. "Miho," Phoebe said during a break between contractions. "Come here." He approached cautiously. Phoebe took his hand and placed it on her belly, right where Abina was kicking. "That's your daughter," she said. "She's about to arrive. You don't need to be nervous. Just be present." Something in Miho's expression shifted. He nodded, settling into a chair on her other side. "I'm here. For both of you." The hours crawled by. Contractions intensified, coming closer together. Phoebe breathed through them, walked when she could, rested when she couldn't. Juno never left her side, wiping her forehead, helping her stay hydrated, murmuring encouragement. Miho was quieter but equally present, his hand available whenever she needed something to squeeze, his voice soft when he told her she was doing great. By midnight, the contractions were excruciating. Phoebe had opted for an epidural around hour 6, and while it helped, she could still feel the pressure, the overwhelming need to push. Almost there, the doctor said, checking her progress. 10 centimeters. Ready to meet your daughter. Terror and excitement warred in Phoebe's chest. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can, Juno said fiercely. You're the strongest person I know. You've built a business from nothing, survived a public scandal, created a whole new life in a foreign country. You can do this. You're extraordinary, Miho added. Abina is so lucky to have you as her mother. With both of them on either side of her, Phoebe pushed. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done. Harder than leaving Ghana, harder than building her business, harder than surviving the betrayal and the scandal and all of it. Her body felt like it was being ripped apart, and she screamed through it, squeezing both men's hands so hard she was probably breaking bones. One more push, the doctor encouraged. I can see her head. One more, Phoebe. Phoebe gathered every ounce of strength she had left and pushed with everything in her. And then a cry, high and indignant and absolutely perfect. It's a girl, the doctor announced unnecessarily, lifting a tiny, vernix-covered baby into the air. Abina Mina Mensakong had arrived. They placed her on Phoebe's chest immediately, and Phoebe forgot every second of pain. Her daughter was here, real and warm and screaming her displeasure at being evicted from her comfortable home. Hi, baby, Phoebe sobbed. Hi, Abina. I'm your mama. I've been waiting for you. Abina stopped crying at her mother's voice, her dark eyes, Miho's eyes, trying to focus on Phoebe's face. She's perfect, Juno whispered, tears streaming down his face. Absolutely perfect. Would Dad like to cut the cord? The nurse asked. Miho moved forward with shaking hands. The nurse guided him, and with one careful snip, Abina was officially separate from Phoebe, her own person now. They took Abina to clean her up and do the necessary checks while the doctor dealt with delivering the placenta and stitching Phoebe up. 10 minutes later, they brought her back, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, a tiny hat on her head. 6 pounds, 8 ounces, the nurse reported. All her fingers and toes perfectly healthy. She's beautiful. Can I hold her? Miho asked tentatively. Phoebe nodded, and they placed Abina in her father's arms. Miho looked down at his daughter with such awe, such pure love, that Phoebe felt her heart crack open a little. Hi, Abina, he whispered. I'm your dad. I'm gonna love you so much. I'm gonna be better for you, the father you deserve. I promise. Juno watched from beside Phoebe, his hand in hers, and she could feel the emotion radiating from him. This was hard for him, she knew. Watching Miho hold the baby, seeing the biological connection he'd never have. Your turn, Miho said suddenly, offering Abina to his brother. Juno looked shocked. Are you sure? She's going to love you too. You're going to be important to her. Miho's voice was rough with emotion. Here, meet your niece. Or whatever you'll be to her. Juno took Abina with the careful reverence of someone holding something infinitely precious. He stared down at her tiny face, and Phoebe watched him fall in love in real time. Hi, little one, Juno murmured. I'm not quite sure what I am to you yet, but I'm going to love you fiercely. I'm going to protect you and support you, and make sure you know every single day how special you are. Abina yawned, a tiny squeaky sound, and both men laughed. She's already bored with us, Juno said. She's exhausted from being born, Phoebe corrected. Bring her here. I want to try feeding her. The nurse helped Phoebe position Abina for breastfeeding. It took a few tries, but eventually, Abina latched on, her tiny hand gripping Phoebe's finger. Look at that, the nurse said approvingly. Natural instincts kicking in. You're going to be great at this, Mom. Mom. The word hit Phoebe like a freight train. She was a mom now, responsible for this tiny human's entire existence. It was terrifying. It was perfect. After the excitement died down and Phoebe was moved to a recovery room, Miho and Juno both prepared to leave for the night. "I'll be back first thing in the morning," Miho promised, kissing Abina's forehead gently. Then, hesitantly, he kissed Phoebe's cheek. "You were incredible. Thank you for letting me be here." "Thank you for being here," Phoebe said. "It meant everything." After Miho left, Juno settled into the chair beside Phoebe's bed. Abina was sleeping in the bassinet beside them, making little snuffling noises. "You should go home," Phoebe said. "Get some sleep." "I'm not leaving you." Juno's voice was firm. "Not tonight." "Juno, you don't have to." "I want to." He took her hand. "I want to wake up with you tomorrow, see Abina's first full day. I want to be here for all of it. If you'll let me." "Of course I'll let you." Phoebe squeezed his hand. "You're her." "What are you, exactly?" "Not her uncle. Not her stepfather. Not yet anyway." "I'm the man who loves her mother," Juno said simply. "And who will love her too, if she lets me. We'll figure out the labels later." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Abina sleep. She was so tiny, so fragile. All that thick black hair, Miho's sharp features softened into baby roundness. And Phoebe's heart swelled. Her skin tone, a beautiful blend of both parents. "She's going to be stunning when she grows up," Juno murmured. "Just like her mother. She's going to be fierce and independent and take no shit from anyone," Phoebe corrected. "Just like her mother." Juno laughed quietly. That too. Around 3 a.m., Abina woke up crying. Phoebe tried to feed her, but she was still learning, still figuring out this whole breastfeeding thing. Abina fussed and squirmed, working herself into a proper tantrum. "Here," Juno said, taking her gently. "Let me try." He walked around the room with Abina against his shoulder, bouncing slightly, humming something soft in Korean. Gradually, miraculously, Abina calmed. Her cries turned to whimpers, then to silence as she settled against Juno's chest. "How did you do that?" Phoebe asked, amazed. "My mother taught me when Miho was a baby. She said babies just want to feel safe." Juno looked down at Abina with such tenderness that Phoebe felt tears sting her eyes. "And right now, this little one feels safe with me." Watching Juno with her daughter, seeing the easy way he held her, the natural paternal instinct that seemed to come to him effortlessly, Phoebe knew with absolute certainty. She'd made the right choice. Not because Juno was perfect, no one was, but because he showed up, because he loved without conditions, because he'd chosen them knowing full well how complicated it would be. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too." Juno carefully placed Abina back in her bassinet, then crawled into the hospital bed beside Phoebe, careful not to jostle her stitches. "Now sleep. You've earned it." Phoebe closed her eyes, Juno's arm around her, her daughter sleeping peacefully beside them. She'd never imagined her life would look like this. Single mother in a foreign country, co-parenting with one man while building a relationship with his brother. It was messy and complicated and nothing like the fairy tale. But as she drifted off to sleep, exhausted and sore and happier than she'd been in months, Phoebe thought maybe fairy tales were overrated anyway. This was real, imperfect and chaotic and beautiful, and it was hers. 3 months after Abina's birth, Phoebe was running on approximately 3 hours of sleep per night and surviving purely on caffeine and maternal adrenaline. She'd also never been happier in her life. Motherhood was harder than anything she'd ever done. The constant feeding, the diaper changes, the middle-of-the-night crying sessions that seemed to have no cause or solution. But every time Abina smiled at her, real smiles now, not just gas, Phoebe felt her heart expand in ways she'd never imagined possible. The boutique had taken a back seat during her maternity leave, but Amma had been running things brilliantly. Her maternity line was selling out faster than they could manufacture it, and she'd just been featured in Vogue Korea as one of Seoul's most innovative designers. "You're a success story," the journalist had said during the interview. "Single mother, immigrant, building an empire. How do you do it all?" "I don't," Phoebe had answered honestly, Abina asleep in her arms during the photo shoot. "I have help, I have family, and I've learned that asking for support isn't weakness. It's survival." That family, unconventional as it was, had become her lifeline. Miho came by 3 times a week for his scheduled visitation. He'd hold Abina for hours, talking to her in Korean and English, telling her stories about his mother, singing off-key lullabies that somehow always made her smile. He'd gotten better at the practical stuff too. Diaper changes, bottle feeding when Phoebe pumped, even the dreaded 3 a.m. sessions when Abina decided sleep was for the weak. "You're actually good at this," Phoebe had told him one night, watching him expertly burp Abina. "I'm trying." Miho had looked at her with those dark eyes, and for a moment, she saw the ghost of what they'd been. "I told you I'd be better for her. I meant it." And he was. He'd continued therapy, started attending a support group for new fathers, even taken a parenting class. The playboy who'd made her a bet was gone, replaced by a man genuinely trying to be a good father. It didn't mean she'd forgiven him completely, didn't mean she'd forgotten, but it meant they could co-parent peacefully, could share in their daughter's milestones without the toxicity that could have poisoned everything. Juno, meanwhile, had fully integrated himself into their lives. He'd officially moved in 2 weeks after Abina was born, and Phoebe couldn't imagine her life without him now. He was the one who woke up first with the baby, giving Phoebe an extra hour of sleep. The one who cooked breakfast while she nursed. The one who took Abina on long walks in her stroller when Phoebe needed to work. He was dad in every way that mattered, even if he'd never be daddy to Abina. That title belonged to Miho. "Have you thought about what you'll tell her?" Amma asked one afternoon at the boutique. Phoebe had brought Abina to work, the baby content in her carrier while her mother sketched new designs. "When she's old enough to understand the situation?" "The truth," Phoebe said simply. "That her father and I loved each other once, but it didn't work out. That I fell in love with Juno, and he chose to love her too. That families come in all shapes, and ours just happens to be complicated. And if she asks why you're not with Miho?" Phoebe thought about it, looking down at her sleeping daughter. "I'll tell her that sometimes people make mistakes that break trust. That love isn't always enough if there's no respect. And that it's okay to choose yourself, to choose your happiness, even when it's hard." "Damn, girl. When did you get so wise?" "Around the same time I pushed a human out of my vagina." They both laughed, careful not to wake Abina. That evening, Phoebe returned home to find Juno in the kitchen, cooking something that smelled incredible. Abina woke up at the scent, making her hungry noises. "Perfect timing," Juno said, kissing them both. Phoebe on the lips, Abina on her forehead. "Dinner's almost ready. How was your day?" "Productive. Amma thinks we should open a second location in Busan." "That's amazing. Are you going to do it?" "Maybe. Eventually." Phoebe settled into a chair to feed Abina. "Right now, I'm just trying to survive one day at a time." "You're doing more than surviving. You're thriving." Juno plated their food, some kind of fusion dish that looked like it belonged in a restaurant. "You've built a successful business. You're an incredible mother. And you somehow still find time to be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." Flatterer. Truth teller. They ate dinner together, Abina in her bouncer beside the table, occasionally making those little baby noises that melted Phoebe's heart. This was her life now. Simple, domestic, perfect in its imperfection. After dinner, Juno pulled out a small box. "What's this?" Phoebe asked, suddenly nervous. "Open it." Inside was a ring. Not an engagement ring, the design was wrong for that. It was a wide gold band with 3 small diamonds set in a line. "It's a promise ring," Juno explained. "Not an engagement, not yet. You've been through too much to rush into anything. But Phoebe, I want you to know I'm serious about this. About us. About building a life together." He took the ring out, holding it up to the light. "The 3 diamonds represent the 3 of us. You, me, and Abina. Our family. Unconventional, complicated, but ours." Phoebe felt tears streaming down her face. Damn postpartum hormones. "Eventually," Juno continued, "when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'm going to ask you to marry me. But right now, I just want you to know that I'm committed. To you, to Abina, to this life we're building." "Put it on," Phoebe whispered. He slid the ring onto her right hand, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Juno paid attention to details like that. "I love you," she said. "I love you so much it terrifies me sometimes." "Good terrified or bad terrified?" Good. The kind that makes you brave. She pulled him close, kissing him deeply. The kind that makes you believe in second chances. That night, after Abina was asleep in her nursery, the room they decorated together with soft pinks and golds, Phoebe and Juno made love for the first time since the birth. It was gentle, careful of her still healing body. Juno touched her like she was precious. Like every stretch mark and every change was something to be celebrated rather than hidden. "You're so beautiful," he murmured against her skin. "Even more beautiful than before. I'm covered in baby weight and my breasts leak milk. And you grew a whole human being inside you. You're extraordinary." He made her feel extraordinary. Made her feel desired and valued and loved for exactly who she was, body and soul. Afterwards, they lay tangled together, Phoebe's head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her back. "I never thought I'd have this," Juno said quietly. "I was prepared to be alone forever, married to the family business, watching Miho live his life while I just existed. And now I'm living, really living, because of you." He kissed the top of her head. "You saved me, Phoebe. You and Abina both." "We saved each other," Phoebe corrected. 6 months after Abina's birth, Miho showed up at their apartment with a woman. "Phoebe, Juno, this is Dr. Hannah Lee," he said, his hand on the small of her back. "My girlfriend." The woman was beautiful, Korean-American, warm smile, intelligent eyes. She was also clearly nervous about meeting them. "It's nice to meet you," Hannah said, her English accented with American inflections. "Miho's told me so much about Abina." "All good things, I hope," Phoebe said, bouncing Abina on her hip. The baby was bigger now, more alert, grabbing at everything within reach. They all sat in the living room, and it was awkward at first. But Hannah was easy to talk to, and she clearly cared about Miho. More importantly, she was great with Abina, comfortable holding her, making her laugh, not trying too hard. "She's a pediatrician," Miho explained. "We met when I took Abina for her checkup." "You asked out our daughter's doctor?" Phoebe couldn't help laughing. "That's very you." "I was professional about it," Miho protested. "I waited until after the appointment. And I got Phoebe's permission first." "You did not get my permission. I texted you. You sent back a thumbs up. I thought you were asking if I wanted coffee." They all laughed, and the tension broke. Hannah fit into their bizarre family dynamic surprisingly well, and by the end of the evening, Phoebe found herself actually liking the woman. "She's good for him," Juno said after they left. "Makes him calmer, more grounded. Are you okay with it? Your brother moving on. Are you?" Phoebe considered it. Was she okay with Miho having a girlfriend? Finding happiness with someone else? "Yeah," she said, surprised to find she meant it. "I am. He deserves to be happy. We all do." That night, she posted a photo on Instagram for the first time since Abina's birth. It was the 4 of them, Phoebe, Juno, Miho, and Abina, taken during the visit. They all looked happy, relaxed like an actual family. The caption read, "Family isn't always traditional. Sometimes it's complicated and messy and requires everyone to be brave. But it's ours and it's perfect. Hashtag modern family, hashtag co-parenting, hashtag love." The comments exploded. Some supportive, some judgmental, some downright cruel. But Phoebe didn't care anymore. She'd stopped living for other people's approval months ago. On Abina's first birthday, they threw a party at Phoebe's boutique. The space was decorated in pink and gold, with a custom cake shaped like a miniature version of one of Phoebe's signature dresses. Friends, family, clients, and business associates filled the space. Miho came with Hannah. Juno's father even made an appearance, though he was stiff and formal with Phoebe. Mrs. Kong had sent a gift but declined to attend. Some wounds, Phoebe knew, took longer to heal. But Amma was there, and her mother had flown in from London, and the boutique staff had become like extended family. There was love in that room. Acceptance, celebration of this tiny girl who'd brought such chaos and joy into all their lives. Abina wore the hanbok Miho had given her at the baby shower, her thick black hair tied up in a tiny top knot. She looked like a little princess, and she knew it, hamming it up for the camera with gummy smiles and excited squeals. When it came time to cut the cake, both Miho and Juno helped her. their hands guiding her chubby fists. The photo captured that moment. Both men who loved her, supporting her together. "Speech!" someone called out, and Phoebe found herself standing with Abina in her arms, looking out at all these people who'd become her sole family. "A year ago," she began, "I was terrified. I was pregnant and alone and dealing with the biggest scandal of my life. I didn't know if I could do this. Be a mother, run a business, build a life in a country that wasn't quite home yet." She looked at Juno, then at Miho, then down at Abina. "But I learned something this year. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up, keep trying, and let people who love you help carry the weight." She raised her glass of sparkling cider. "To imperfect families, to second chances, to brave new beginnings, and to this little girl who changed all our lives for the better. To Abina," everyone chorused. Later, after most guests had left, the core group remained. Phoebe, Juno, Miho, Hannah, and Amma. They sat around watching Abina play with her presence, tearing wrapping paper with gleeful abandon. "Can you believe it's been a year?" Amma said. "So much has changed." "Everything has changed," Phoebe agreed. "But somehow, it all worked out." "It worked out because you made it work," Juno said. "You set the tone for all of us." "We all made it work," Phoebe corrected. "Even Miho." "Especially Miho," her ex said with a grin. "I'm a co-parenting champion. Let's not get ahead of ourselves," Hannah teased, and they all laughed. As the evening wound down and people started leaving, Juno pulled Phoebe aside. "I have something to ask you," he said, and there was something nervous in his voice that made her heart race. "Juno, I know I said I'd wait, that the promise ring wasn't an engagement. But Phoebe, it's been a year of building a life together, of raising Abina together, of proving that this us works." He got down on one knee, pulling out a small box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, with a single diamond that caught the light. "Marry me," he said, "not because it's expected or traditional or what anyone else thinks we should do. Marry me because I love you, because I want to spend the rest of my life showing Abina what love looks like. Because you're my home, my partner, my everything." Phoebe looked down at him, this man who'd chosen her despite everything, who'd loved her daughter as his own, who'd stood beside her through scandal and chaos and the beautiful mess of building an unconventional family. "Yes," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He slid the ring onto her finger, her left hand this time, and stood to kiss her. Around them, their family erupted in cheers. Even Miho was clapping, his smile genuine if a little bittersweet. Abina, oblivious to the significance of the moment, simply clapped her hands and laughed, delighted by all the noise and excitement. 2 years later, the wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends at a private villa in Jeju Island. Phoebe wore a custom gown of her own design, silk and champagne gold that made her dark skin luminous. Abina, now 3 years old, was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously as she scattered petals down the aisle. Miho walked Phoebe down the aisle. It had been Juno's idea, a gesture of reconciliation, of acknowledging the complicated web of relationships that had brought them all here. "Take care of them," Miho whispered as he handed Phoebe over to his brother. "They're the best things in my life, even if they're not mine anymore. They'll always be part of your life," Juno promised. "That doesn't change." The ceremony was beautiful, traditional Korean elements blended with Ghanaian customs. They jumped the broom, exchanged vows in 3 languages, English, Korean, and Chui. When the officiant pronounced them married, the entire gathering erupted in celebration. At the reception, Phoebe's mother gave a speech that had everyone in tears. "My daughter," she said in her accented English, "has always been brave enough to leave home, to build a business, to love when love seemed impossible. But her bravest act was choosing happiness for herself, even when the world said she should choose differently." Amma's speech was less poetic but more fun, regaling everyone with stories of Phoebe's early days in Seoul, the scandals, the drama, the beautiful chaos that had led to this moment. Even Miho gave a speech, talking about Abina and how grateful he was that she had so many people who loved her. Hannah sat beside him, one hand on her own small baby bump, They'd announced their engagement and pregnancy just last month. We're all getting our happy endings, Amma said during the dancing portion, watching as Juno spun Phoebe around the floor while Abina danced with Miho nearby. Even if they don't look like we expected. Especially because they don't look like we expected, Phoebe corrected. Her business had expanded 3 locations now, plus an online store that shipped internationally. Her maternity line was a bestseller. She'd been featured in magazines, walked red carpets, become exactly the success story she dreamed of being. But none of that mattered as much as this moment. Dancing with her husband, watching her daughter laugh with her father, surrounded by family and friends who'd stuck by her through everything. Happy, Juno murmured against her ear. Deliriously, Phoebe answered. Any regrets? She thought about it. About the bet that had started everything, the betrayal that had nearly destroyed her, the scandal that had made her a tabloid headline. None, she said firmly. Not a single one. Because every mistake, every heartbreak, every difficult choice led me here. To you, to this family, to this life. Even the part where you fell for my brother first? Especially that part. Because it taught me what I actually wanted. What I deserved. She pulled back to look at him. I deserved someone who chose me from the beginning. Who saw me for who I was and loved all of it. That's you. They kissed as the song ended. And around them, their unconventional family cheered. Later that night, after Abina was asleep in her room and the party had wound down, Phoebe stood on the villa's balcony looking out at the ocean. Juno joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? He asked. How far I've come. Ghana to London to Seoul. From my grandmother's sewing lessons to my own fashion empire. From a girl who thought she needed to be perfect to a woman who embraced the mess. You're extraordinary, you know that? I'm ordinary, Phoebe corrected. I'm just an ordinary woman who refused to let circumstances define her. Who kept getting up every time life knocked her down. Who chose to believe in second chances and new beginnings. There's nothing ordinary about that. They stood, there in comfortable silence, watching the waves crash against the shore. Somewhere in the villa, their daughter was dreaming. Somewhere in Seoul, their businesses were thriving. Somewhere in the world, their story was still being written. Ready for the next chapter? Juno asked. Phoebe thought about all they'd been through, all they'd overcome. She thought about the family they'd built from chaos and complication and love. She thought about the future stretching out before them, full of possibility. With you, she said, turning to kiss him. Always.
Hello besties, know your worth, never settle for less. In family, it's not about blood, it's about who shows up. Besties, when someone shows you that they don't value you through lies, bets, or disrespect, believe them. Your worth isn't negotiable. Build your empire, demand respect, and never settle for less than you deserve. Thank you so much for watching. Can you like, subscribe, and share? I hope you've enjoyed the story.